All right, so here we go again, October 15th, same day. I mentioned the last video, which was titled Jnana versus Bhakti, or Jnana and Bhakti Yoga, that I'd offer some solutions. These are things that I benefited from, you know, I think 3 or 4 videos ago it said in order to gain self-knowledge, there's one point where it said you read a lot of things, a lot of scriptures, and then you finally realize you know nothing. That's me. And so these quotes are really powerful. They're the truths. It sure never came from Jim. These are the things that really. It's kind of, when I read them, they kind of went, wow, that's interesting. And then you meditate, meditate, meditate. One day you have a realization at the power of these truths, these gurus and saints that thankfully lived and passed on this knowledge. So I'm going to pass on from several gurus. Sri Ramakrishna, some people think, is an incarnation of God in the likings of Lord Buddha or Lord Jesus, but he's fabulous. 1860s, 70s, and 80s. And there's a few quotes that I just wanted to pass on because in my mind, this is Bhakti Yoga, or the path of worship and love. And I'm telling you, I just love this. I had to go through, boy, did I have obstacles and arrogance and ego that got in the way. And now I just totally agree with Ramakrishna, where he says this is the easiest path to yoga, or one with God, one with consciousness. The next videos will actually give a little bit insight into why it works, which I have that seek knowledge as to why these things work. But let's just go right to these tips. So right there, display, good. Whoop. Sri Ramakrishna. If you meditate on your ideal, capital I guess you can put many things there, but I'm just going to say your personal God, all the characteristics. I remember reading that Ramakrishna would even meditate on his personal God. Kali was the name, Kali, the goddess Kali. It says if you meditate on your ideal, you will acquire its nature. And he used to meditate on all the characteristics of Kali. If you think of God day and night, you will acquire the nature of God. Now, some people would say, well, what's that nature? Well, what about God? Just God. What about love, peace, compassion, joy, truth? There are so many attributes, as they're called, that you can meditate on. I'm going to tell you a little story because, again, as I've kind of walked this path, I kept reading it, and I know there was truth to this, but I had to get through a bunch. But one day I was at the temple here in Sacramento, and I was meditating on love, and it was just a beautiful meditation of experiences of when I felt one with things. I felt good. It wasn't just one with somebody else. It was just that wavelength love. And I felt pretty good. It wasn't fabulous as I walked away. As a matter of fact, I find out a lot of times I do a meditation, maybe it's a half an hour later, it blossoms. But I was driving home and I remember going, what's happening here? I just felt great. I felt great. And it was just a glow. And I think that's an example of that. He also says, unless one always speaks the truth, there's another attribute. Yeah, truth. One cannot find God, who is the soul of truth. How many times have we heard the truth will set you free? If we're constantly speaking and thinking the truth, meditating on, praying on the truth, one will get closer to God, consciousness, right there. And then, there's the whole idea of why does serving others work? Because all religions say serve others, help others. Constantly get out of this fella being important, be out there. Well, because we're all out there already. So we always benefit. We're helping them, we're helping ourselves that way. But I loved this line. God is everywhere, but he is most manifest in man. So serve man as God. That is as good as worshiping God. I used to wonder when I was trying to understand Bhakti Yoga, what does worship even mean? I even meditated on that. What the heck? But I thought this was beautiful. That is as he says, is as good as worshiping God. this wavelength, this consciousness, Brahman as it's called in India, and it manifests the most in man, women, people. And if you're helping those, if you're helping man, serving man, that's fabulous. And you will continue to feel better and better and better. Yeah, Bhakti Yoga.